This is Robert Kraft, and I'm your host on SNN.Network. And joining me right now is Martin Cronin. He is the CEO of Patriot One Technologies. It's a publicly traded company. I got two symbols for you: PAT on the TSX and PTOTF on the OTCQX. Martin, thank you for joining me today. How you doing?
Great, thank you. It's a pleasure to be on. Thank you.
It's a pleasure to have you. So because this is our first time doing an interview together, I'd love to get a quick overview and history of the company first, and then we'll go from there. So the floor is yours.
Okay, thank you. So Patriot One's in the business of public safety through threat detection. We were set up 4 years ago to commercialize a stream of technology which had been developed at a Canadian university. And this was something called cognitive microwave radar. So it was marrying up low-powered radar with machine learning to be able to scan people for concealed weapons. And over that journey of commercializing that particular technology, we found, working with clients and partners, that one single hardware approach wouldn't meet all of our requirements. And so we began a journey of assembling best-of-breed technologies together on a platform, a multi-sensor threat detection platform that's all powered by AI. And our philosophy of detection is that it should be low cost, unobtrusive, that it should allow people to move as freely as possible, to be as unencumbered as possible, but giving really good information to security professionals to keep people safe in the venues where they gather and maybe at risk of acts of violence.
So what would you say makes the company and technology, let's say, unique and different compared to some of your peers and competitors out there that are already servicing this need right now?
Yeah, well, in the main, threat detection is fixed visible security checkpoints. And so, when you're faced with the reality of, acts of terror across, cities all over the world, or school shootings across the US, you can react by saying, well, we've just got to put in these checkpoints everywhere where people go, into schools and shopping malls and office buildings, where you're going to file people through metal detectors and bag searches, etc. And it fundamentally changes the way of life. And people just people want to be safer, but they don't want to live like that. And so what we offer is a much smarter approach, invisible, covert, if you wish, that really allows people to go about their business, as freely as possible, but at the same time to be safer. So it's this smart, networked, unobtrusive approach to security that we think is really important to protecting a way of life.
So I wanted to actually learn a little bit more about how the products and solutions work. And I want to do it in the form of the question that I'm about to ask, because you guys just announced, I believe it was a day or two ago, that you have joined Los Angeles Football Club and Banc of California Stadium to form, and I quote, the Stadium and Event Safety Strategic Alliance, end quote. This is a little self-serving because I happen to be an LAFC fan and went through a few games last year and went through the security process and whatnot. So can you describe how Patriot One's security technology, in this instance, will turn Banc of California Stadium into a global showcase venue to advance the vision of safety and security for public gathering spaces? Really, the main question is, how are you deploying your technology that for not only this project, but how is it similar with other projects down the road?
Yeah, so LAFC are real innovators in the space. And so they have a really strong interest, not just in what can be done now, but what does the stadium of the future look like? What is the fan experience going forward? And they recognize, going back to a point I was making earlier, that if you turn stadiums into fortresses and people stand in endless lines for security, they're going to stop. They're going to stop going. It has to be a great experience for the fans. And so they've embraced the idea of, well, how do we harden the target, but in a way which is preserving a great experience for the fans. And so their philosophy of protecting the fans is the same as our philosophy of threat detection. So that was a natural fit. So as I say, there are things we can do now. So we're getting in there and deploying the systems we have. We'll be deploying the systems we bring forward because we have a whole pipeline of innovation. We're working with real experts in the field of public safety so that we can really, as I say, design our what does future stadium security look like? And there are many other developments that will have an impact on stadiums of the future. There's what do you have to do about having electric charging stations for electric vehicles? Are you going to have people arriving by unmanned drones? There are all these kind of things that they're planning for the future, and security has to be a seamless part of this. That it has to be not just a reaction to threats of violence and imposing ever more stringent and obtrusive measures, but needs to be enhanced in a way which at the same time enhances the fan experience. And so what we found in LFC is a partner that's really keen to innovate and make people safer in a venue, but in a way which really gives a great fan experience.
So using Banc of California and LAFC as an example, what do these unobtrusive measures look like? Like I said, I have experience going through the lines, and it's right now is a very typical experience. You go through the metal detector and drop off your backpack in a other place. So how is what you guys have and looking to deploy going to be different than what the current experience is?
Well, there's a couple of aspects. I mean, as you well know, everybody is going through that physical check right now. Now, with our systems, you could actually have just a very, very small subset of people go through some secondary screening. The rest will have passed by sensors that really don't know that are there, but will have already screened them for the presence of weapons. There's a couple of other aspects. You can push the security perimeter much further out, so get notification of the approach of a weapon, because after all, if somebody is going to go there with a weapon intent on causing mass casualties, they may not even try and get through the metal detector arch. They just want to get to where the crowd is and then cause carnage. And so being able to identify the approach of a threat earlier and seeing the stadium as part of a slightly bigger ecosystem and to identify the approach of a threat is a huge advantage for the security professionals. Secondly, we have modules around fight and disturbance detection. So taking a feed from the cameras, if a scuffle breaks out or some disturbance in the crowd, it can be very hard for security operators looking at a whole bank of screens to see that early enough. With our AI, that can be spotted immediately, and so you can deploy to contain a problem such as that. We are also offering elevated body temperature detection, so screening for people who may have fevers when you're in a time of pandemic. Should it ever be mandated that people should be wearing masks, we have the AI can detect whether people are compliant with that or not. So it's a whole. We're looking at a whole range of threats, physical and invisible, but detecting them in a way which is invisible by and large to the fan base.
So then my next question is, where's the company at currently in its life cycle? I mean, I would assume you guys are past the pilot program at this point, but I mean, are you still probably deploying a few of those so that you can get some of those bigger clients like an LAFC on board?
Yeah. So we have different streams of technology which are at different stages, and so some of those are commercial ready and are out, deployed commercially. Obviously, the COVID pandemic has had an impact on lots of businesses, including ours, with people unable to travel and people not businesses not receiving visitors. So obviously that has slowed things a little bit. But we have a pipeline of commercial deployments ready to go, and as businesses open up, we'll be getting out and doing those installations. And then there are other technologies that are coming through the pipeline where we can work with people like LAFC, these early adopter partners, to try them in their own live environments and very quickly iterate to ensure that the performance of the system is what they need, and that the form factors and how it integrates with their operation are exactly what they need.
Well, and one more quick follow-up on this is because you just said that your AI can actually detect when people are wearing masks or not. So I mean, how has COVID-19 really impacted the business? Have you been seeing, more people taking your call now saying, hey, if you can do this, we got to talk?
Well, yeah, it's interesting. You know, when the pandemic sort of really hit with all its force, people stopped really thinking about, you know, threat to violence, guns coming into premises. I mean, premises were shutting down across the country. But what we, began to think about very quickly was we have tools and skills in our toolbox that were relevant to the crisis. And so we have been doing work with thermal cameras for weapon detection. We said, okay, well, let's do meaningful detection of elevated body temperature, because lots of people are desperate for solutions, and people have been throwing up thermal cameras without realizing that the tolerance on a regular commercial grade thermal camera is just not there to detect a fever. So we use our AI to do anomaly-based detection to detect those elevated body temperatures. We have a piece of work with University of British Columbia to map the difference in body temperature between somebody just being hot on a hot day and somebody being hot from a fever. We have got features, as I say, around mask detection, recursive tracking we're developing. So if somebody does enter a facility with a fever and, in a time of contagion, you can see where they've gone, who they've met, what they've touched, so you can contain that. And then our AI team have been doing work with Health Canada to advance vaccine development. Have been working with the Vancouver General Hospital to look at lung CT scans, to look at the progression of COVID-19 in patients, to be doing modeling on the spread of the pandemic. So we've been really busy during this period because we have skills and tools that are highly relevant to this challenge, which is, after all, the biggest challenge of our time.
And what's your background? I mean, how'd you come into all this?
Well, by background, I was 21 years with the British government, much of that overseas in the Middle East and South Asia. So I served in Yemen and Jordan, Pakistan, Iraq, places which had very difficult security environments, and had worked on counterterrorism policy with the British government. So I had an understanding of complex security environments and the need for better security measures. And so I was approached when this company was set up to bring to bear some of my networks, both at home and abroad, and to really help to shape what the technology needed to be able to do to make a real difference in security and safety.
So then, from what you can tell us, Martin, what are some of the company's growth drivers now moving forward?
Well, really now it's all about execution and revenue. We need to get out there. We've got to get these installations done. We've got to, build the client list. We've got some tremendous, big brand names, very well recognized names approaching us on a daily basis saying, look, we're aware of what you do. We'd like to work with you. So now it's all about executing on the opportunity and just getting the word out there for people to see that, we've gone past this stage of, prototyping and pilots, and we're into execution. None of this is easy. I mean, the technologies we're dealing with are highly complex. We're dealing with a tremendous amount of variability in the real world. And so, it's taken time to get to this point. It's not easy, but then of course that does create a barrier to entry for others. And we've learned our lessons. We've built a robust portfolio. We've got a tremendous platform on which we're deploying systems. And now it's all about getting out there and making people safer. And as we put it, saving lives, but also saving a way of life.
Absolutely. So with that, where can my audience go and find everything they need to know about Patriot One?
Best place is our website, www.patriot1, and that's the numeral 1, tech.com. And you'll find there all contact information, corporate presentations, news flow. It's all right there on the website, and we'd love to hear from you.
Well, with that, Martin, thank you so much for joining me today. I really do appreciate you taking the time. Good luck, stay safe, and I look forward to our next update.
Great. Thank you, Robert. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you.
Okay. Bye-bye.